Hi, I'm Dawn Kirkham, and I've just finished a really powerful meditation with a Lemurian Seed Crystal. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how to work with Lemurian Seed Crystals. But before we go into that, let's start with what Lemuria is. So Lemuria is believed by many to be an ancient lost civilization which existed prior to and during the time of Atlantis. Now Lemuria is also sometimes referred to as Mu, or the motherland, or the motherland of Mu. Now it's said to have been located largely in the southern Pacific between North America and Asia and Australia. And theories about Lemuria and other sunken lands started to emerge in the late 1800s. And in 1864, zoologists first published an article about a classification of a species called the lemur. And he was really puzzled by the presence of lemur fossils in both Madagascar and India, but not in Africa or the Middle East. And really he got to thinking that maybe Madagascar and India had once been a part of a larger continent. And this was the first theory that really led to the discovery of what's known as an ancient supercontinent called Pangaea. Now the theory that the Earth's land was connected in what's called a supercontinent was accepted by the scientific community in around 1912. And there were many theories about land bridges and sunken continents that is known as Lemuria today. And it's said that approximately 14,000 years ago, well, a culture known as Lemuria was thriving. The Lemurian people were both highly evolved and very spiritual. Now, while concrete physical evidence of this ancient continent may be really difficult to find, many people know that they've had a strong connection to Lemuria, maybe a past life, or they feel it strongly resonating in their body. Now, sadly, Lemuria and the other ancient civilizations like Atlantis, well, they succumbed to what's known as the Big Flood. And the priests of these civilizations really prophesied that something was going to be changing. And so they began receiving information that the earth was going to go through what they called a very dramatic shift. And the shift that they were referring to was this great flood, and that's what wiped out these civilizations. It was also known as the destruction of Atlantis. Now, the priests of Lemuria, well, they wanted to preserve the knowledge for mankind. So they began spreading their teaching to as many people as possible. And it said that they believed that the information would be stored within the cells of the human bodies. And this would then protect the information and the technologies from being forgotten, from being lost. But they also began to store information in crystals, it said. And these information crystals are now known as Lemurian Seed Crystals. And they were taken deep within the earth to be stored and preserved. And it was said that these crystals would start to emerge when mankind was really ready to receive the information. And so since the turn of the millennium, they've been appearing all over the world. Now, before I talk more about these crystals, I want to bring you back to Lemuria and what happened to it. Well, it's said that a number of Lemurians escaped. This was to prevent their race from being totally wiped out. Some of them relocated to Mount Shasta, which is in California, and they recreated their civilization deep below the mountain itself, where it's said they remain today. And these beliefs were fueled by the publications of two books, the first of which was published in 1899 by Frederick Spencer Oliver, and it was called A Dweller of Two Planets. And then there was a book by Harvey Spencer Lewis under a pseudonym, published in 1931, called The Hidden Lemurians of Mount Shasta. And subsequently many books have been written on this subject since. Now, lots of people believe that the city of Telos It was built inside Mount Shasta, and it's designed to house 200,000 Lemurians, but today it's believed that Telos is now home to more than 1.5 million Lemurians, and that Lemuria can be felt and contacted through meditation and through channeling. So do you feel a connection to this ancient land called Lemuria? Do you feel that you've had a past life in this civilization? What is fascinating is that there are many accounts of people who've run into very strange beings on and around Mount Shasta. They're robed beings on the mountain itself, unusually tall, apparently, blonde with bright blue eyes. And it's said that this group of Lemurians are responsible for releasing the Lemurian seed crystals to the earth. Now, it's also thought that another group of Lemurians actually returned back to the stars. So let's get back to the crystals. Well, the term Lemurian Seed Crystals, well, that was really coined by Kristina Raphaell, and she's the author of a trilogy of wonderful crystal books in the early 1980s, and is a really kind of fundamental teacher of crystals. And I will link her books in the description below because they are amazing. And as one of the most respected crystal authors and healers in the world, she gathered with several others in Hawaii to attune with 6 Lemurian seed crystals. And she reported that while doing so, they connected with a group of powerful, non-physical beings who communicated the meaning of these crystals to them. And she wrote about their experiences. And what she said about the seed crystals was, well, they hadn't been coded with information per se, but they've been programmed with frequencies, and these frequencies connected to other crystals. And meditating with one of the crystals, well, that would promote a sense of oneness, a sense of unity, that every individual part is equal and no better than any other part, and that really it was necessary for love in order for us to evolve. And these crystals are said to create a telepathic connection to the beings of Lemuria and to the stellar regions as well. Now, classic Lemurians are clear quartz with striations horizontally along their faces. You can also find them in smoky quartz and citrine, and some have hematite inclusions, giving them a wonderful pink or deep red colour. And in February 2019, well, black tourmaline Lemurians were found. Now, this is where it gets complicated because there's a difference of opinion as to what the actual characteristics of a Lemurian seed crystal is. Some believe that the striations are only found on alternate of the crystal faces, and some believe that they appear on every side of the crystal, but not on the tip. And really this makes it tricky to identify what a Lemurian seed crystal is, given the lack of a consistency or a unified agreement as to what those characteristics are. But the striations are really the important part of Lemurian seed crystals, as they contain the frequencies. And in a moment I am going to share with you how to work with a Lemurian seed crystal. So I personally have 2 of these crystals that I work with, and both have striations on all of the sides. But how they came into my possession is the interesting story, because they called me. I really wasn't aware that I was buying a Lemurian at the time. Both were sitting on in a crystal wholesaler on a dusty shelf. Different ones, different years apart. Both were, all kind of dirty and dusty. But I just knew that they had to come home with me. I was compelled. They called me to the location and they compelled me to buy them. And it was only when I got them home and started working with them I realised what they were. So the lesson is to use your intuition to tell you if the crystal that you have in your hand is a Lemurian or not, and then to work with it for your own spiritual healing and your growth. They really are personal to you, and they come into your life for a reason. So since I've been working with mine, I've received many downloads, both during my meditations with the crystal themselves, but also in dream time as well. Now, I'm not sure if I had a life in Lemuria or not, or whether I'm connecting with a Lemurian, but I have had dreams of a beautiful green and fertile land with strange geometric structures all over the place, and tall willowy people walking around. Now, the skin is darker than mine, and I didn't see them as blonde and blue-eyed. In fact, most that I've seen have darker hair, and some with a very striking copper-coloured hair. I don't know if it's Lemuria or not, whether I conjured it out of my imagination, but I feel peaceful when I visit. And I really believe that more people are discovering these Lemurian seed crystals and being drawn to them, and that we're all playing an important part of the activation of the planet by doing so. So if you have a Lemurian seed crystal, or you'd like to work with one, we generally do this in meditation. So you'll want to have around 20 or 30 minutes of quiet time where you can really focus without being disturbed. Maybe you want to set the mood a little bit with some low lighting, maybe burn some incense if that's your practice, but it isn't necessary. Now, I would recommend sitting with your back straight and slightly tilt your head upwards a little, as this really allows the energy to flow. I found that worked for me. Now, hold the crystal in whatever hand is comfortable for you, and sometimes, crystal will not feel comfortable in one hand or the other. And then slowly, just quietly focus on your breath. Relax, slow your breathing down, and let go of any thoughts that bubble up. Don't worry about, the crystal at this point. Just relax and allow. And when you're ready and in your own time, bring your awareness to the crystal and maybe ask a question that you'd like an answer to. So your question could be specific. It could be something about you. It could be about your spiritual growth, or even an issue that you're dealing with that you need an answer to, or some help. It could be more generic, like tell me what I need to know now, or give me some information that will help me. You could also ask to see Lemuria, or if you think that you've had a past life in Lemuria, ask to see yourself as you were then. Maybe connect with one of the higher priests, and then rub the striations gently with the index of the finger of your other hand and stay open to the process. You can also place the striations against your third eye as well. Now, don't get frustrated if at first you get nothing. Sometimes it takes a little while to make the connection, and regular practice really is key. And you might want to have a journal for afterwards so that you can make some notes about what you received. Now, I don't always receive information at all in my meditations, but I always feel a deep sense of peace and love during them. It really feels like healing for the heart and the soul, and who wouldn't want that? Another powerful way to work with Lemurian seed crystals is to create crystal grids with them. Now, if you're not sure how to set up and create a crystal grid, I do have a video on the channel just about that, so I will link that in the description below, and you can have a little look at that to get some help. And finally, I really came across a really cool way to use these crystals for protection. And it said that if you hold a Lemurian seed quartz in your right hand while you walk around and encircle something, so that could be a person, it could be an object, it could be a house, it could be a land, it could be a loved one, but it will create a circle of light and protection. And I'm really intrigued by that, so I'm going to give that a go. And I will link the article where I found this really neat way to work with Lemurians in the description below. And it's full of really good information about Lemurian seed crystals. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe if you like content like this. And I hope that you enjoy making a deep and meaningful connection to Lemuria through your Lemurian seed crystal. Ta-ta for now.